Newcastle, comfortable home win, 3-0. I don't know if you can put it down. I mean, Wolves weren't particularly missing too many players. Hwang wasn't available.
It's enough, though.
Cunha wasn't available.
Wolves and West Ham have had, according to Ben Dinnery's Premier injuries, Wolves and West Ham, I think, are the two teams have had by far the fewest injuries this season. Got a thin, small squad. As soon as you take one or two components out of that, and it's not to say they've been lucky or whatever, they've done really well this year, but for them to take those key players out, what you're putting in instead, playing a young boy Fraser up front, came on at the weekend, who's quite highly rated. It's not a criticism of him, but there's a drop, right? There's a drop from Sarabia, Neto, Hwang, and Cunha, obviously. If they're without Neto on top of the other two at the weekend, as I said, I'd be pretty confident Fulham would go to Wolves and win at the weekend, actually.
I mean, they had more of the ball than
Game state, mate.
Newcastle.
Quite a lot
and
of that.
Also, but I think it's down to quality of chances. 5 big chances for Newcastle, nada for Wolves.
So, game state, you're losing, right? If you think of how little possession Wolves had at Tottenham, they were never losing, so that impacts things. And Newcastle, I think, well set to obviously go and counter teams and hurt these teams more. You actually even saw it with the Wolves game against Sheffield United, where they're almost more at risk because of how high they play. So I've spoken in the past about that back three being okay but not great in terms of their distribution. Well, they're also not great if they're higher up the pitch. If you go over the top of them, turning, it's only Gomez has got a bit of pace. Kilman's not quick. Dawson's obviously not quick.
He's about 40.
So the more they can defend their penalty area rather than higher up the pitch, the more it obviously suits them. And I think that's why we've seen this trend where in certain games against so-called weaker opposition, Wolves have struggled would be harsh, but let's say not blown them away as we might have expected. You know, 1-0 Sheffield United, 1-0 Burnley, and yet gone to Tottenham, got 2, gone to Chelsea, got 4, gone to Brentford, got 4, got a draw at Brighton. This, if they'd have had their key attacking players available in this, they could have done that more, stayed in the game longer, and possibly get a positive result out of it. So for Newcastle, it's perfect timing to play Wolves, and I think it might be for Fulham this coming weekend as well. So Wolves now absolutely completely off of radar, I think.
Yeah.
They go to Villa in 30 as well, so even for those 3 hitting, it's not brilliant on the other side. So if you do still have Hwang in there, I think it's a sell. And I think even if you've got Neto, I think there's a lot of options for you to move to, which will be difficult because if he's fit, you look at Fulham at home and think, well, that's a decent fixture, but I'd consider moving it, particularly for those obviously running through game week 29. Thing is as well, without his mates, it's a little bit like the old Eze Elise thing. If you need your mates, otherwise people, Neto's the problem. Don't give Neto space, so people will focus way more on him. For Newcastle, good result, obviously. Murphy played rather than Almiron, bit of a surprise perhaps. So too Dan Burn playing rather than Tino Livramento again at left back. But Livramento obviously could be in for a run now, subject to what the news is on Kieran Trippier. And if Trips is bad, Livramento will become popular quickly. Perhaps not for now, and obviously they don't play in 29, but from game week 30 onwards, I've spoken about this a lot. Their run of fixtures is really good. That starts with West Ham at home in game week 30. He's 4.1 or 4.2, Livramento.
He is right now. No, not even a 1% ownership, so nothing.
If we got in a situation where Reece James wasn't going to be back this season and Kieran Trippier was going to be out for the rest of the season, I can already see the wild cards building of Gusto, Livramento, Branthwaite, Arsenal defender, plus one more, take your fancy. I can actually see it building that way. So Livramento needs eyes on. I also think Alexander Isak, eyes on as well. Again, he's not going to be one for now because of the other forwards. But again, from game week 30 onwards, we know Callum Wilson's not going to be back till May and may not be back at all this season. They'll obviously get into a run where, subject to their FA Cup involvement, it's once a week, right? But it could be if they go out the Cup to City, which is probable, but then depends what Manchester United do as well. There could obviously just be one game a week, barred one additional fixture against Palace. And I think that as well, if you have the Palace game going to 34 and they double with that good run of fixtures, I can see moves like Watkins to Isak in 31, for example, when Watkins goes to Man City, and then Watkins also got Arsenal away in 33. I can see people then saying, right, is this time to take the punt on someone like Isak? So definitely eyes on for a few Newcastle players. Dubravka I wouldn't go near at the moment. We do expect Nick Pope back at some point in April, and when he's back, he'll be back in the team, and they'll be better for it. I'm looking forward to that game Monday night, Chelsea-Newcastle, because I think it will be a real bad narrative for whichever one loses.